top teams. A couple of them are probably going to lose.
Has anything kind of any team on the bubble? I don't want to jinx us going into this game this week, but at the beginning of the season, it wasn't looking like Michigan was going to be a factor in that playoff. But if they were to do well this weekend, they would have to get up in the forefront, as being one of the representatives from, or possibly being one of the representatives from one of the power conferences.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
What about we got Texas A&M is hosting an undefeated Texas A&M is hosting Alabama this weekend. That's another team that could kind of take a step forward as being. I agree with you, Jay. It's a whole lot of season left, and you can look at a team such as Arkansas, who got beat on their home field by the Toledo MAC team, the Toledo Rockets, but then they turned around and beat were beating Alabama for a half. So, anything can happen. I just don't know, with Utah being out there with, like I said, the Big 12 teams, TCU, and what's the other team? Baylor. Yeah, without them having that conference championship and, depending on who wins that face-to-face match between those two, I don't know. I just think, I have to agree with Jay overall. It's a lot left to happen. Somebody in the SEC, somebody's going a team or two is going to get tripped up down there. So I think it's kind of wide open. But like I said, it's good for Michigan to kind of be getting in that discussion, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I expected that too.
All right, fellas.
There was a lot of analysis that put Michigan in the top four. And like Jay said, there's a lot of football to be played. There's going to be more upsets to be had in football to come. So it's, you can talk about it, but there's still a lot of football to be played.
Yeah, I'm not into getting into too many of these different measurements that are used. I just kind of keep an eye on the top 25. To me, college football is a much different animal from the NFL, and it's kind of hard to gauge all of these teams playing kind of in silos. Once we get into that conference schedule, it's kind of hard to see or to measure everybody against people or teams from other conferences because it's such different play. Like I said, with these teams out in the Big 12, how would that spread stuff work against Iowa, Michigan State, Ohio State, Michigan? I just don't know if I could say at this point that those teams could play with the Big Ten or maybe with the SEC. So moving on. So last week, I know both of you guys were excited. Hey, I'm down here in Ohio, obviously, but give me a sense of what's going on in the state of Michigan this week after that victory against Northwestern.
Oh, actually, I was at the game last Saturday against Northwestern. I've never heard the Big House as loud as that in probably 5-6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, the state of Michigan right now is basically, they couldn't be more excited for this Saturday's game. That's the only thing that people are talking about right now. There's not a lot of work getting done.
So we might not want to not want to buy any vehicles coming off of any assembly lines in the Motor City right now.
Nah, they're not at their top level of work this week for sure.
Let me ask, I'm just curious. I know I've never encountered one myself. Are there pockets of Ohio State fans in the state of Michigan? It's a lot of Michigan fans that I run into down here. What's the numbers looking like up there in your day-to-day travels?
For me, in my work environment, I encounter maybe 2 or 3, and they hear it. They don't. It doesn't. When you see that red O, we let them know that doesn't belong in this state.
Okay. What about you, Jay?
To be honest with you, I don't know any Ohio State friend that lives in Michigan.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just usually in and out of the state. But like I said, in comparison to my day-to-day down here, I don't have to go too far to find a Michigan fan. So I just wondered, I just wondered what that looked like. Also, give me an idea of what the breakdown is for Michigan State.
Man, it's as far as the matchup.
No, just the breakdown of supporters of each school.
Oh man, as far as fans go, everybody thinks that Michigan State's battled through adversity and they've got the upper hand. And as far as Michigan fans go, we're coming off a big win, 3 shutout victories. We think that our defense is going to shut them down. It's a healthy competition, but we think Michigan's going to come out on top.
Okay. All right. So, Jay, let me go to you. It was like Ryan just mentioned, 38-0 against Northwestern. It's kind of hard to learn something about yourselves when you are dominant like that. We got off to a fast start. With Chesson's return. It was another big deal with the pick 6 from Lewis. I kind of wasn't expecting quick scores like that. So I guess that's why maybe me and Ryan last week had some lower expectations as far as total points, but we won't dwell on that. But Jay, what'd you come away from this game thinking that we need to improve against this week's opponent?
The first half we were on fire. Second half we didn't really put up too many points. I think we should score a little bit more this week against a struggling Michigan State defense.
Right. There wasn't a whole lot of as far as analyzing the game versus Northwestern. There wasn't a whole lot of things where you could really pick out what Michigan needed to improve on. I mean, when you blow out a team 38-0 and you're scoring on both sides of the ball, including special teams, there's not a whole lot you really need to work on. I mean, you need to prepare yourselves mentally, but what else do you prepare for? You're playing at home. Your coach, your coach is going to have you ready for Saturday. What else do you work on as far as, looking at film and prepping for Michigan State?
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest they change much going into this week. I think the only thing that I'd like to see a little bit more of, we talked about our skill positions last week and wondering were there, what was the ceiling for our playmaking, whether or not we had the type of skill players that could do something explosive. And the only thing that I say for me that I'd like to see a little more improvement on is now that J. Hugh Chesson has shown me that he can do some big time stuff, I'd like to see him get a little more consistent, with his duties at wide receiver. I think that'd be one thing that I'd like to see. And he should have a world of confidence. I think, Ryan, last week you may have hit on that the kids are being coached right and that confidence is setting in. And, that was one thing that would lead to great play on the field. So I think that's one thing I like to see Chesson. I think to add some balance. Butt's already doing pretty well. So I just think we need that other wide receiver to be a factor. And while we might not be, a track meet explosive team, just being well balanced will bode well, in my opinion. Anything that you saw, anything that you saw trending up this week that maybe you didn't see in games 1 through 5?
I would definitely say special teams. I'm real shocked how well they're doing. They actually got a special teams coach. They haven't had that in the past. He's actually, a position coach being special teams. That's strictly what he's doing. He's coaching up the special teams.
Okay.
So I was shocked to see.
Good point.
When was the last time Michigan, had a return for a touchdown? In a couple years.
I agree.
Well, I think they said the opening kick. Well, do you remember that stat, Wood, with the Michigan's had an opening kickoff, run back for a touchdown in how many years? It's been a long time.
Yeah, I was actually in my car coming back from a haircut, and it had already happened, so I didn't hear any. I was shocked because I came in the house at it was still 14 minutes and 29 seconds on the clock, and we were up 7, and I was like, what in the world happened? So that's a good point, Jay. What about you, Ryan? What's trending up for you?
The consistency of Jake Rudock from game 1 till now, he's made leaps and bounds as far as no turnovers last game. That's key. I mean, especially coming up against Michigan State. He had no turnovers against Northwestern. Executing on both sides of the ball, like Jay alluded to, the special teams. We're firing on all cylinders right now. If Jake Rudock comes into this game this Saturday, the way he played against Northwestern, I mean, Northwestern's defense was ranked in the top 5 going into this game.
Right.
And Jake Rudock did not make it look like they were a top 5 defense. I mean, he was checking down wide receivers. From game 1, Jake Rudock would drop back in the pocket, and he would literally stare at his wide receiver and throw it right to him. The defense is looking at that the whole time. He's checking down wide receivers. He's looking to the right, gets Jake Butt off the side. I mean, I think Jake Rudock, as far as progression from weeks 1 till now, is my key takeaway.
Yeah, you actually stole my thunder a little bit because I'm totally with you. Oh, no problem. No, seriously, I think that Jake Rudock was kind of the X factor. Everything kind of was contingent on how well he did. And I think if we look to your point, if we look back at week 1, I mean, the difference in that game was the 3 interceptions. And for him to come out now and have a clean game, I felt like I saw the kid having a little fun finally. The touchdown run that he had, that just seemed like a guy out there just enjoying the moment and competing and just letting, just doing what comes naturally to him. And to get away from, I mean, I'm sure he's under some of the best quarterback tutelage that any college kid could have right now with being underneath Harbaugh, on a day-to-day basis. So I could imagine. Go ahead.
I think that alludes to Harbaugh's coaching.
Right.
I mean, him getting him and learning from weeks past, and him really breaking down. Okay, you need to learn from these mistakes and learn from these turnovers. You can't force the ball. I think that all boils down to Harbaugh's coaching and teaching him to learn from his mistakes as he goes on. Because you can see from week to week that he's getting better and better.
Yeah, I'm noticing. I think it may have only been like one pass this week where I thought he tried to force it in there, and the defender was already, already draped on the wide receiver, and he still tried to throw it in there. I think earlier in the first few games, it was like 2 or 3 balls a game where he was doing that. So, like you said, I think he's improving every week, and I think with him showing flashes of mobility is something that bodes well as you get into a Michigan State and an Ohio State, because I know here Ohio State doesn't really handle mobile quarterbacks that well. So that'd be a good wrinkle to add to the offense, and maybe in small doses. I know he's not the most the shiftiest guy or the quickest guy, but I think there are some opportunities that any quarterback on both levels, at some point in time, I think all quarterbacks have to make 1 or 2 plays with their legs just to keep a defense honest. And then
I agree.
And then lastly, the running backs. I know we mentioned that last week, Ryan. I just feel like they're running more naturally now at this point too. Devion Smith, I feel like it's not just do what the play says right